things have been rough for the last week to week and a half, and I kind of want to take a second and talk about it because I think these videos are important to make too. I normally have pretty well planned out videos, which plenty of you guys have seen if you follow this channel for any given period of time. But I also film when I'm in episodes, when I'm having symptoms, because I think it shows a more real side to this condition. So it's not just me talking retrospectively about things or laying out something that's super well planned and edited. It's like this raw stuff I think is really important too. So today, let's have a raw conversation about depression and mood symptoms and schizoaffective disorder and how it affects me. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kit, and I'm diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which means that I experience psychotic symptoms like those found in schizophrenia, but also mood symptoms like those found in bipolar disorder. Before I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, I had a diagnosis of bipolar 1. And it's the bipolar side that actually causes me the most stress and trouble when it comes to this condition. And that's what I'm dealing with now. So for the last week and a half, I've been slowly sinking into a depressive state. And I would say normally my life is basically I'm either a little bit up or a little bit down. There's always some kind of mood cycle. So I'll be up for a few days where I'm getting a lot done. Not too much, but I'm getting a lot done. And then I'll have a few days where I really don't feel like doing much of anything. And it's not like I'm really high energy on my up days and I'm really low energy on my low days. It's just like, okay, I feel like I can do a little bit more here. And then when I go a little low, it's like, maybe I don't want to do as much. And that's just euthymia for me. I put it in quotes because it's not true euthymia, but that's the closest I'm going to get to euthymia for the most part. And I will say there are some days where it's like, okay, maybe this is what euthymia is supposed to be like, but normally I'm either a little bit up or a little bit down. And so I would say about a week and a half ago, I was coming off of a very high period where I was motivated to do a bunch of different things. Like I started a new costume for my cosplay hobby. I filmed a bunch of videos. I planned a bunch of videos. I think there was one night where I filmed literally, I'm not even kidding you, I counted 21 TikToks, which is a lot when I normally film maybe 7 to 9 in one go. And I'm just like, okay, that was pretty cool. And I think it was shortly after that night that I talked to my parents, specifically my dad, and I said, hey, am I in hypomania? Am I like acting hypomanic? Because so often I don't know I'm in hypomania. I have one video on the channel where I filmed myself in hypomania, and that's still the only time I've realized I was in hypomania while I was in hypomania. I normally don't have any insight into my disorder during that time, which I think is very interesting because I definitely have insight into depression, as many of you guys know by this point. Like I'm having insight into it right now, right? Yeah, but my dad told me, he's like, no, I don't think you're in hypomania. And I took his word for it because he's known me my entire life, and he's definitely known me over the course of my whole disorder, from when it was just psychothymia to now when it's the schizoaffective stuff. And so I asked him a few other times too, and again he came back and said, no, I don't think so. I think you're fine. And so I thought maybe that after my recent antipsychotic adjustment, which was we lowered the dose a little bit to kind of lower some of the side effects. And I thought, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be like. This is what my natural state is. I was kind of delusional is the wrong word, but I was kind of in this belief that I was going to be like that forever, that was my new normal and everything. And I kind of get that feeling when I'm in these up states where I'm like, oh, this will last forever. And honestly, like, I think it'd be great if it lasted forever, but I don't, I shouldn't have expected it to, because usually what goes up must come down. Whether it's a mild high or a major high, there is always a mild low or a major low. And in this case, since it wasn't really a hypomanic high, it was just kind of like an elevated mood that, I don't know, I really don't think it was hypomania, but it was close. I think it was close, because now I'm definitely depressed, even if it's not full-on major depressive episode. Like, I still am able to get out of bed, I'm still able to go to work, I'm still able to do the things that I'm required to do as part of being an adult, like there's no problem there. But I just kind of have these dark glasses over everything that make everything seem a little more negative, and it's a little bit harder to do things. It's a little bit harder to get out of bed. It's a little bit harder to eat, for example. So all of that stuff is still a thing. But yeah, so I've kind of noticed that corresponding to how high the high is predicts how low the low will be. And since this wasn't really that much of a high, I don't think this is going to be that much of a low. Like, this has been building and it has been getting worse, but it's still not as bad as my depressive episodes have been in the past, to the point where I honestly think over the next few days, it probably will lift. I personally don't think this needs treatment, because I don't think every episode I have needs treatment. Every episode I've had has not needed treatment. Some of them have, some of them haven't. That's just the reality of the condition for me. And so, for example, I'm not sure I'll even do a full-on update video for this situation that I'm telling you about now. I'm just making this video to say, hey, I'm in a depressive state. This is how the disorder decided to disorder this time, and I think it's important to share that with you guys. But I do have plenty of videos that I've already filmed and edited that will go up after this one. I might do a little community post update saying I'm feeling better, but I don't think it needs like a full-on update video. And so, yeah, so this is the reality of what schizoaffective disorder is like for me. And usually I have the psychotic side and the mood side they don't usually act together. So like, for example, this whole time I haven't experienced any more psychotic symptoms than normal. I haven't been hearing more voices per se. And my voices haven't taken on the typical negative tone that they take on when I'm depressed. Like, sometimes I have this mean negative voice that I've named Beckerson that shows up when I'm depressed, and he says mean things to me, but he hasn't shown up this time. So maybe my antipsychotic is doing its job, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of like I don't have the normal, it's not, every episode is different for me. Every single episode is different. It's always a toss-up about what's gonna act up this time. And this time around, it's basically just mood. So I had my little bit of an up period where I filmed 21 TikToks and a bunch of videos and started a new costume. And then I have this low period for the last week and a half where I have it's just been harder to do things, but I've still been able to do them. And it's been harder to eat, harder to get out of bed, but I've still gotten out of bed and I've still eaten. I've still gone to work. No issues there. So yeah, that's really where I'm at now. And I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of insight into what someone with well-treated schizoaffective disorder, like someone looks like. And so I do want to say, the last little bit I'll say before I leave is that my mom decided she was going to get me a present because I was feeling bad and she saw this in the store, and it's a little warmy bee. So warmies are like, this is not sponsored, but they're like little stuffed animals you can put in the microwave and heat up, and there's a bee version, and I'm very excited to have a bee that is warm, that can keep me warm at night because it's getting cold where I live. And of course I have Madam Bee with me at all times to help me get through stuff. Not like at all times, like she stays at home or in my car. She's not like with me at work all the time, but I have her as well to help me get through this. So I will get through it. It'll be fine. But thank you so much for watching this video and for joining me in making the uncomfortable comfortable. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.